So, Praveenji, do you want to start with a mantra?
Would love to. You do it now? Yeah. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vande Guru Ramana Rishe Acharyasya Padabjam Yo me dharshayadisham bhantam dvantamaditya shanti.
Thank you, Praveenji.
Thank you, Kuldeep.
Really excited to sharing this screen with you.
Very fortunate to be here.
Thank you. And so, of course, we've been in the path for many years, but I would love to hear how did it start, and for you to just to give an idea to the audience or the viewers about your path and your journey and aspirations related to the yoga and the embodiment movement.
My early inspiration was definitely my parents. They came from a very spiritual background in terms of they had a spiritual lineage in what they believed in and they abided in, which was mostly in the leaning towards the philosophy of non-duality. And what is very strong, what strong impressions that was built as a child in that environment with my family was doing bhajans every Thursdays. They were very devout devotees of Puttaparthi Satya Sai Baba, and we would have a lot of bhajans and satsangs, and that had fairly influenced the mind of that child. And from there, I was very curious in terms of dance, in terms of music, and I always wanted to explore dance, and that was something innate in me. For certain reasons, which I understand now, my parents were not so favorable for me to dance, as they had one male child and 3 female childs, and they were leaning towards the female child's taking up to arts. But I had a very strong interest in exploring dance and music, and I struggled and fought my way through, and I wanted to dance, and that brought me closer actually to spirituality. And that was my early discovery of my physical body through dance, rhythm, music, raga, and that was an exploration, a pathway into my body. And I was very curious to leave the environment which I was born in Malaysia, and to come to India and to explore dance. And I got a chance to live in Odisha for a good period of time, and then I moved to Delhi. I studied Odissi, and then I went to Chennai to study Bharatanatyam. And a friend of mine fortunately introduced me to yoga, the physical form of doing asana practice, pranayama and so on. And that I found a new body through that practice, and since then it's been 25 years now that I'm exploring yoga. And in the recent years I'm exploring yoga from the perspective of how I can move from the wisdom of the body using dance and yoga, weaving both of this together, and what I call as the embodied practice for yoga.
Beautiful. I must say, and you know that you are an inspiration for me, and you are basically one of those gurus who have invited me to go deeper into the practice of yoga, which is not just limited to body, but the psychosomatic way of reaching to your mind, and which is very tantric for me. And I consider you as a beautiful tantric guru for me. And so for me, the embodiment movement and the practice, which is the innate, the motion which is there in our body, leading it into the present moment is a rediscovery. So thank you for that.
You're welcome. Thank you very much. Yeah. So one of my main inspiration or curiosity is how can we put, if we could, divide the body into a physical body and the subtle body. The physical body being the bones, the skin, and so on. And then you have the subtle body as the mind, the thought process. In a daily life, we have fairly the mind leading or in the driver's seat, and the body is in the back seat. But what if we switched? What if we put the body in the driver's seat and the mind in the back seat, and move through the wisdom of the body without the mind sort of dictating where should the body go and how should the body look like and feel like? What if we switched? How would that feel? How do you think that feels like?
I mean, I think for that, it's the connection is the breath, right? To come back to your body, and it's just a framework. What I understand is to become, to come back to the present moment is through body. Is the first is to being aware of the breath and how it is initiating some stirring inside your body. How can you allow it to happen rather than manipulating that moment? Or is it like, are you resting into it, or it is like triggering something, or it's a constant conversation between the with the environment around. So for me, I think that's very important for me. Like when the journey from within is happening, is to being aware of your breath, and then like I don't know, like I'm like it's not an embodied one, but talking about being aware of your thoughts a little bit, maybe. And then through that, like how you can go deeper into thoughtless and no mind.
Yeah, so it's fairly interesting, this perspective in where we can allow the breath to be the medium to permit the body to be in the driver's seat and the mind to be in the back seat. Because if the mind is generally in the driver's seat, it becomes a bit nervous. But the moment the body is in the driver's seat, how does the mind react to that? And if the medium in between the body and the mind is the breath, what can the breath transmit to allow them to have a safe conversation in where the mind can trust the wisdom of the body and not constantly push the body? So this is my interest in where I think Tantra, because the very word of Tantra itself, to weave, to work, to go deeper. How do you think, do you propose that Tantra is definitely a strong essence which is already existing in yoga?
Absolutely. Thank you for initiating that conversation. Another meaning of Tantra is also Tan means body and Tra means technique. So body-based meditation technique to go deeper into self-actualization. And also, as you highlight, it's about weaving the polarity between you, weaving the masculine and feminine aspect of your energy within you, weaving the animalistic and spiritual nature, or being human and being spiritual, weaving that aspect together. That's the aspect of Tantra comes in. And these techniques have been like there from inception, beyond this man-made religious practices, right? So it's coming from Kashmiri Saivism, Shiva Puran, Vigyan Tantra, Buddhist and Taoist Tantra, and any esoteric practices like in the West, if we say those energy work or those shamanic work, what we are doing, these all are providing us techniques, and those techniques are basically the idea is to bring sensitivity to the body. Idea is to acknowledge the stirring happening, the simulation happening around. So we have a choice to just to ignore that entire stirring happening, or the whatever is happening around, and focus on something else, like and why it is the way it is that through the external simulation, maybe we are conditioned to think that certain emotions are good, certain emotions are not good, and the how we don't know the art of resting into the pain and pleasure, because if you are not resting into pain, you cannot also rest into pleasure. The way we understand orgasm or death or a childbirth is something we still have not lived fullest to that moment. That makes us detached, resist the present moment. So this kind of techniques and all that brings us back to this vehicle or medium where the present moment is happening. Body.
If I could speak into two aspects of what you just offered just now, is developing sensitivity and also to be able to rest, whether it's pain or pleasure. So these are two very important topics that I myself am trying to develop within the practice of the neo yoga that we have now, which is very orientated or roaring within a physical acrobatic structure that it has. For whatever reason, everything has its place in the expression of the Almighty. So respecting all of that, I feel what I'm trying to bring, that we are all human, we have a human experience, and how can I experience my human-like experience, pain and pleasure, all of this from an expansive space, not by refusing pain and only wanting pleasure. How can I rest in that expansiveness, or come in contact with that expansiveness of myself, so that the human-like experience can can be a restful experience?
That's amazing. Like, and also one of the focus of Tantra is the expansion, like, the expansion which is happening, which can contain all the contradiction, like good and bad, and light and darkness, and male and female, and right and wrong, day and night, and everything is coexisting rather than opposite. One of it exists because the other exists. So how we can, and we are not far or against of any of it, but we are just here to witness, like, the transition happening, and how we can balance in between the samyak marg, the middle path. So this techniques from different techniques, like, as we understand that the Tantra is more feminine in nature, where yoga is more masculine in nature, the doership and practice, like, going through certain outer conduct and inner discipline, and going through certain kind of asana and pranayama to do the pratyahara, to reach to the place where the negation happens. Where in Tantra it is we are in the pratyahara, it is not about the negation, it is about accepting. It is saying yes to everything. It is not saying no to this, I'm not this, I'm not that. But can we also invite this idea of that I'm everything, everything is part of me. So there is no, like, that's where the expansion already happened. So everything is included there. And that's also one of the aspects when it comes to yoga and Tantra.
Develop sensitivity to that everything is an expression of me. and whatever that I am experiencing right now, it could be various expressions like rest and restlessness. It's not that we are only trying to develop rest. There's also a restless part of me. Where is that coming from? So could that be more in the view of non-duality, where everything, like we have various waves in one ocean. There's a little wave, there's a bubble, there's a foam. They're all appearing in one ocean. So the restful state of that wave is also a part of the ocean. And the rustle of a wave is also a part of the ocean. I think that's when I personally do not see any difference in between. This is my view in between Tantra and Yoga. I find that there are two expressions of one ocean. Yeah.
Thank you for saying that, Praveenji. And there is so much misconception and comparison when it comes to yoga and tantra, and how they are different. And there are so many misunderstandings when it comes to tantra as well, because there is the sexuality aspect, on sex and sexuality aspect is associated with it.
Yeah.
And I would say, if I can say this, that the Western approach towards the tantra is all about sex and sexuality nowadays. And if I can say the East, in the sense like the Asian countries and including India and where it coming from right now, it is more about the mysticism, the esotericism, the ritualistic approach of non-logical approach of devotion, bhakti. I believe this logic and illogic, they coexist and they have to come together to make it more meaningful to the present mind, where the entire world is struggling with this idea of sex and sexuality, where we are heavily stimulated with so many things around in Instagram and wherever, you go to a cafe and everything is so sexualized. And that's not a very restful place, and it has its own intention. But when it comes to spirituality, we are somehow condemning it because we don't understand that superpower of our sexual energy, otherwise known as Kundalini energy. The entire world is trying to raise this Kundalini's energy, not understanding that you are basically invoking your sexual energy. And once it happens, what are you going to do with it? Are you taking it in and upward towards spirituality and self-actualization, or you are taking it out and downwards towards procreation, pleasure, or so that's a choice, right? And the techniques makes us available to know our superpowers. And from there, how we are using it with our intention, with our life journey, where we are in our path towards the self-actualization, we're going to use that.
So to sort of understand this from a wider perspective, can I say that there are various techniques and there are various ways or paths to tap this expansiveness within? Simultaneously, we're not rejecting experiences, we're not trying to create another experience, but the very experience right now that I am having is a pathway to my reality.
Absolutely.
So a technique can be a pathway, another experience could be a pathway, but could yoga and tantra come together, which has the capacity when it comes together, that the very experience I'm having right now, I could be confused, I could be in love, I could be having any kind of emotion right now, and that very experience is illumined by my expansiveness, and that's the pathway.
Absolutely. When we are talking about these techniques, in Vigyan Vairab Tantra, there are techniques which talks about sneezing. can take you to enlightenment.
Wow.
And are we not sneezing enough for getting enlightened or something?
I sneeze a lot, so
You
must
are
be very
enlightened.
close.
So this is exactly what this sensitivity is
Yeah.
we are talking about, right? Are we sensitive to that movement when it is happening?
Yeah.
Where it is leading towards no mind,
Yeah.
or beyond timelessness, and beyond any labels and egos. And that is the aspect what we are talking about. And everything, every thing, like, becoming aware of your breath, or the gap between the breath,
Yeah.
or the cycle of the breath. This is all what I'm talking about, is the different techniques from Vijnana Tantra, right? Contemplating on death, or like whirling round and round and falling in the ground to understand the nature of Vairava, the enlightened masters, right? So these all techniques are basically helping us to become more sensitive about the present moment. And so the here the thing is, like, the I like how can we, bring those, but are we not doing all of this, are we not sneezing, or not doing enough of breath work or movement? What is it still not working out? People are doing yoga for many years, and there are our gurus, where we are coming from the different lineages. We see that they have different illness elements, and emotional issues, anger issues, and all of that. How can we say that the celebrated yogis and tantrics, or there are tantrics who are highly sexualized and abusing themselves into, there are so many practices without understanding the depth of it, right? So how can we understand that what is going wrong and what is the right way? Or is there a right way, or is it just the unique expression
Of that very moment.
Individually, uniquely?
So I also feel like the human nature is to categorize and compartmentalize everything. Like, this is right, this is wrong. If I sit like this, this is not a right way of sitting. And if I sit cross-legged or in Padmasana, for instance, that would be a right way of sitting. I think that any posture that you hold for too long can be wrong, because your body is meant to adapt, to sense, to feel, and then to move or act from there. I think the moment there is some amount of numbness, then we are saying, I'm only made to arrive into these certain patterns, so I am rejecting certain patterns, and I'm only taking these patterns because it suits me right now. But I also feel like these other patterns might come back to you because you're not fulfilling them. So I therefore feel that Tantra is a way for you to celebrate all of these various human-like expressions from, of course, a very harmonized way, bringing certain amount of synchronicity of body, mind, and breath together. Yeah,
absolutely, Praveenji. So, Praveenji, I wanted to know more about the idea of embodiment movement practice, and how it is it is close or differing from the practice of the regular yoga what we are doing, or is it different, or is it same, or just a curious question, how do we see that?
This is what I'm about to say is, of course, conditioned to my psychology, my experience, and I feel the expression of divinity coming through this body-mind. The yoga formats that we have had before, the pedagogy and the methodology of yoga that we have received from the previous teachers, they're all conditioned by, artistically, scientifically conditioned by different minds and personalities that we have received. So what I am also curiously offering is conditioned with my experiences, right? So I come from a background from where my main interest was dance and movement and how to explore this human-like experience I'm having without rejecting or embracing something beyond a requirement. How can I find this dynamic balance? And therefore I found through my own experience and relevant other experience, which is also corresponding to the way I feel, is that the body has its own wisdom. And how can I move in a way that I can let the body lead and the mind follow? Whereas I found, like I said previously, how the mind tends to chauffeur the body, do this, do that, look like this, and stay like that. I found that a little bit bullying the body to behave in a particular way, and I'm sort of numbing my body from giving me information. Like sometimes people would say, if you rest, you would rust. No pain, no gain. I found that all very harsh and fairly ridiculous for me to embrace these expressions, because if I felt pain, why do I want to gain into it? And if I needed to rest, I'm resting. Why am I resting? So these are things that I was re-questioning again. In what direction is yoga going towards? So I found that if I needed to do a perfect Trikonasana, what is a perfect Trikonasana? Because I don't have the same body I had yesterday or this morning, right now and this evening. Or could the perfect Trikonasana being embracing this very moment and all the expressions that my body held, and that I found was an embodied practice. To accept myself right now through my gut feeling and through my body, how my body is interacting with the environment that it's in. I'm receiving sensory input through my sense organs. And of course, my body is perceiving it at that moment. And that direct experience at that very moment is what I call as an embodied yoga practice. So we're not trying to arrive and achieve a certain aesthetics of how you look and what is right or wrong, but to become, can I say, it's not about attainment, it's more of attunement. So you're tuning yourself to that very moment, as Patanjali starts his amazing work, Atha Yoga Anushasanam. Now we begin. Now, how can I use this body, mind, breath waves to enter now? So that's the main purpose of offering the embodied practice. How can I attune myself through my very experience right now? And that's something I find I'm still evolving and sharing this format. How do you think that this would relate to the tantric practices?
So I believe that coming back to the present moment, or understanding what is happening in the present moment itself, to a logical mind is not easy. So how we can find a logic to drop the mind. Like, what we are doing is we are basically helping the mind to rest into itself. So it has different layers, right? So right now you might allow the feelings and sensations and everything to happen, and it might ignite or trigger something inside you, something which is not conducive to the so-called the society we live in. But as we understand that it may not be socially accepted, but it is existential. It is like the anger is happening, the desires are coming, and we are happy, we are sad, we are in love, we hate, and everything is happening. And when we are talking about being allowing those things to happen, it's basically becoming mad, or like, allowing the madness to take over. And so how deep it goes in that way, if we understand that So if we understand, like, how deep we go, in the sense, the emotions, the stirring, what is happening is um, basis of our body's conditions, the mind condition, which has gone through different events, and we may call it as traumas. So different life events and all of that. So basis of our own understanding, or the prism of perception, we are projecting the life force energy. So the life force energy, or the kundalini energy, or the sexual energy, is basically running through your different energy center or chakras, and from there it is basically exhibiting different life lessons. Like if we know that there's 7 chakras in our body, like the Muladhara, the Swadhisthana, the Manipura, the Anahata, the Visuddha, Aagya, and Sahasrara, it has a way of exhibiting the same energy in uniquely different to each individual. And what exactly the common life lesson it offers is Muladhara, which is to do with your grounding, belongingness, outer connections, and the way we understand the connection with our parents, basically. Like how the first initial connection with the outer world has basically impacted our survival. The element of fear is all about Muladhara Chakra. So when we are and out of that survival, out of that how we are dealing with the element of fear, which is to do with your survival and death, our emotional expressions gonna come out, which is the Swadhisthana. So emotional expressions are also, or your sexuality, your orientations, and everything, and the emotional fluidity, and that is going to come out. Like the best way to understand is to refer a small a kid, like when we are growing all of it, when a child is feeling safer, or well taken care, or loved or not loved, and how much it is feeling safe, and it understands that I'm not going to die out of hunger, the first thing it is going to do is to show tantrum, like express, like or sometimes they are so timid, like they wanted to sunk into it, they don't want to hide under a table, or that's like how our bodies are, like our childs are, like humans are responding, right? As we are growing, it again, like our different chakras are invoking of its own. In a primitive society, without any kind of external the way right now the external simulated environment is in the primitive society, the 7 chakras gonna invoke of its own by nature itself. And according to that, by age of 14, we have our sexuality fully blossom, and out of which your polarity comes out, your liking and disliking comes out, and that's where you're defining, saying I like this, but I don't like that. Like I'm a boy, I'm a Hindu, I'm a Pakistani, I'm like whatever, like it's coming out of the emotional expressions, gonna lead towards the Manipura chakras life lesson about the duality. So from that duality, your version of love comes out, which is your Anahata chakra, where it's like your version of love, in the sense like a mother saying that I love my kid. I love my child, but I don't care about this dying kid in Gaza or something. Like it's a version of love.
Yeah.
It's basis of your survival, emotional expression, duality, and your version of love.
Yeah.
And through that version of love, your creativity comes out, your throat chakra. And from that creativity, your intuition works.
Yeah.
And from that intuition, you're connecting with the higher consciousness. So this is the cycle goes on when it comes to the chakras and life force energy. So what Tantra does is to make you aware of that aspect of your life, and how you are exhibiting the life force energy by expanding, by understanding the element of fear. Your expression or emotional expression gonna change, where you are dealing with the emotion of shame, and from there your Manipura is also talking about this 1,000 sun, right? Suns together. It's like money is the hardest substance, and Pura in the sense like it is the storehouse of different jewels. So it is like it talks about expansion also to contain all the contradiction in life. So that's where you are basically containing all the contradiction of liking and disliking and going beyond it. When that expansion happens, your version of love also comes out of non-dual approach, where these gurus and the self-actualized saints, what we have seen, they are so expanded that they are in love with everything. Rather, we can say it is not about loving something or someone, but they are in love. They are rested in love. So they're so expanded in their heart, and out of which the creation, the co-creation, what they are doing out of the creativity. From that level, their intuition and higher consciousness, working with the higher consciousness happens. So this cycle, this techniques gonna work on different energy points to lead you towards self-actualization, to your highest potential. So this is how the approach of Tantra would be when it comes to the energy level of offering.
Shall we speak about the retreat, what we are going to offer in the Yoga and Tantra retreat?
Definitely.
From the embodied yoga perspective, one of the main purpose of the embodied practice is also how to regulate our nervous system, and using movement as a medium, soft, gentle, mindful movements, and that would help you regulate your nervous system and to regulate your thought process. And of course, to bring back movements which we have forgotten as a child, from the womb, coming out, the child rolling, the child crawling, sitting, bouncing. As a child, we have developed, I think, fairly some of the movements we have forgotten. To crawl, when was the last time? We can ask ourselves, we crawled or rolled, or did something, what a baby would do, even bounce or jump. So to cultivate those movements, and when we cultivate back or tap back into the body with those movements, see what happens to the body at that moment and how our nervous system reacts to it. And that's something that I would like to share in this retreat. And movements that could help us support the energy centers. What movements can help us recognize the location, can help us concentrate and develop commitment and intuition to those energy centers. So that's from the perspective of the embodied practice.
Additionally, in the tantric aspect of in the retreat, we will be focusing on the positive polarity of men and masculinity. When I'm talking about men and masculinity, it is not the moralistic way of telling someone how to be a man,
Uh-huh.
or how men should behave and all of that, but the energetic level of masculinity and femininity which is there within all of us. So when I'm talking about the positive polarity of masculinity as an energy, in our chakra system, there are few chakra or energy points who are more masculine or outward, like our lingam is outward. Our solar plexus is a space of power and vulnerability. In the throat chakra, we have the Adam apple. And beyond that, we are genderless. So how we can tap into the positive polarity, which is in it impacting or influencing the receiving polarity. So when a man is grounded with their lingam and sexuality and pleasure point and understanding the pleasure anatomy, orgasm, his emotion expression gonna change, and it is not going in two different polarities. The way masculinity as an energy is right now is completely abusive or toxic, or becoming if I could say that, toxic, or in a way like completely submissive, or not avoiding their own innate responsibility as such, like completely negating it, or finding a fine balance in between to express themselves. From there we will be understanding the power and vulnerability space of the Manipura, where we gonna work on our fatherhood wounds, which gonna help us to expand our being to contain all the contradiction, to be restful in our feminine energy as well, to understand that there is a erection and there is a restful space when it comes to sexuality. From there, how you can how your version of love is coming out, how you can manifest your soulmate, if there is something called that, or how you can connect co-create with the outer world, how you can in the throat chakra we also say that it is the way which purifies, right? So, and also it is to do with this is where the spell is coming out. You're basically voicing it out, basis of your value, or what to align with your highest purpose, and through that how you are connecting with your highest consciousness. So this is a deep work we're gonna go through energetically, through movement, sound, breath, touching upon the subject of orgasm, and death, and life.
Beautiful. I think that would be a very interesting experience. Kuldeep, can you let us know when and where this retreat is going to take place?
Definitely, Praveenji. So we are having this retreat in Goa, a place called Nalanda, from 5th December to 12th December 2024. And it's a 7 days retreat only for men, who want to discover their masculinity aspect of life through yoga and Tantra.
It was absolutely a pleasure to have this sharing session with you, and hopefully people are interested in this conversation and stir up something that they require in their life, and meet us in Goa.
Absolutely, Praveenji. It's an honor, and it's an open invitation for everyone who would love to go deeper into this esoteric and science and spirituality aspect of life.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.